We are halfway through 2025, and just around the corner are the next major elections in 2026. Democratic State Representative Vikki Goodwin of Austin announced she's running for lieutenant governor against Dan Patrick, who is seeking a fourth term. And we asked her how she can beat him.
I think the time is right. We need a change. I disagree with Dan Patrick on so many of the policies that he has, but also on the corruption that we see of him taking millions of dollars before he was the head judge in an impeachment trial. The way that he rules the Senate with an iron fist really doesn't encourage any debate over there, and members basically fear him. And so, we've had 30 years of Republican leadership. I think that many people would argue it's time for a change.
What are your main platforms? What would you like to see done that is not being done?
Well, I've always run because I'm passionate about our public education. This session we saw $1 billion going to private schools, and I anticipate with the current leadership that will continue to grow over the years. I'm not in favor of sending our public tax dollars to unaccountable private schools. That's number one. Housing affordability. I would say that all of our leaders have talked about that as being a big issue, but what we saw come out of session, in my opinion, doesn't do enough to address that issue. Water and energy, infrastructure is a big deal, and again, water was prioritized this session. We talked about a lot of things, new water, leaky pipes, but not really a whole lot about conservation. And then healthcare. I think there's a lot that we need to do around healthcare, whether it's women having the ability to make their own personal private healthcare decisions, or whether it is in rural areas, people just having access to good primary care.
How do you really beat somebody like Dan Patrick? Because, as you know, no Democrat has beat a Republican statewide in over 3 decades.
I think it's all about relationships, building relationships with people around things that they care about. I've spent the last year traveling the state and looking at the issues all around the state. I'm not interested in the divisive issues. Let's put those aside and let's solve the problems that really make a difference in your life.
And I'm hearing you say that, and still costs money to go across the state.
Right.
It still costs money to get your message out. Texas is a big state, got a lot of expensive TV markets like the one we're in, like the one you're from.
Right.
And so how do you really do that? It's easier said than done, right?
Yeah, the first time I ran, I was not in politics at all prior to running in 2018, and I had a political consultant tell me you need to raise $400,000, and I was like, wow, that sounds like a lot of money. I did, and I won. Second time around, I had a target on my back because I had won the one Republican seat in Travis County and they wanted it back. That time I had to spend $1 million on my campaign. I was able to raise $1 million in a state house district in 2020. So they say this will be a multi-million-dollar race, and I'm in it to raise the money and to get my message out.
Other Democrats considering running for statewide office include former Congressman Colin Allred and Beto O'Rourke, State Senator Nathan Johnson of Dallas, and State Representative James Tallarico of Austin may also run for higher office.